All right, let's jump into another deep dive.
Sounds good.
Today we're looking at something pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Ripple's new stablecoin, RLUSD. Have you heard about this?
yeah, I've been following it pretty closely. Seems like it could be a big deal.
Yeah, that's what we're going to try to figure out. We've got this great article from Sentia. It's called
Hmm.
Ripple's Stablecoin to Disrupt the Dollar.
Catchy title.
Yeah, it definitely caught my eye. So in this deep dive, we're going to be asking some big questions.
Okay, shoot.
Like, how does this RLUSD actually work?
Right.
And what makes it different from all the other stablecoins out there? Could this be like the digital dollar of the future?
It's a good question. There's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, and what about those real-world applications? The article talks about cross-border payments, even investing in real estate with this thing. It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it really is. It's an ambitious project.
So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. Remind me, what exactly are stablecoins again?
Sure. So stable coins are basically cryptocurrencies that try to keep their value really steady.
Okay.
They do that by pegging their value to something stable like the US dollar
Makes sense.
that makes them good for a lot of things. Everyday transactions, more complex financial stuff. They're getting a lot of attention lately.
Right. So where does this RLUSD fit into all of this?
Well, RLUSD is a stablecoin that's, like you said, backed by the US dollar.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the interesting part. It's built on Ripple's existing payment network. It's called the XRP ledger.
Okay, I've heard of that. It's supposed to be really fast, right?
Exactly. That's one of the big things about RLUSD.
Okay.
They're trying to use that speed and efficiency to improve on what we already have.
So it's like they're taking the best of both worlds, the stability of the dollar and the speed of the XRP ledger. That's pretty clever.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to shake things up.
Okay, so walk me through this. Why is this integration with the XRP ledger so important?
Well, think about sending money overseas. The traditional way can be a real pain.
Yeah, slow, expensive, tons of paperwork.
Right. And it can take forever. With the XRP ledger, transactions are settled in seconds, and the fees are way lower.
That sounds amazing. But how realistic is it?
Well, that's what we're here to explore, right?
Right. All right, so RLUSD, trying to bridge that gap between old school finance and the world of crypto. But they're not the first ones to try this, right?
Not at all. There are some big players already out there. Tether, USD Coin. They've got a pretty good hold on the market.
Yeah, I've heard of those. How does RLUSD stack up against those guys?
Well, Tether or USDT is the big one. But it's had some controversy around how transparent they are about their reserves.
Oh, right. I remember hearing about that.
RLUSD wants to fix that. They're saying they're fully backed by US dollar reserves,
Okay.
and they're doing it under a New York Trust Company charter.
So they're playing by the rules.
Yeah, exactly. They want to be seen as stable and trustworthy.
Makes sense. But what about USD Coin? Isn't that one already pretty well regulated?
It is. But RUSD has this ace up its sleeve, that XRP ledger we talked about.
Right, that super fast network.
Yep. They're hoping that being part of Ripple's network will make it easier for people to start using RLUSD.
So it's like an instant advantage?
Kind of. Especially as people are looking for stablecoins they can trust. The demand is definitely there.
Okay, I'm starting to see the picture here. Ripple's trying to position RLUSD for mainstream adoption, not just appeal to the crypto crowd.
That's a good way to put it.
But let's get down to brass tacks. What are
Mhm.
some real-world examples of how this could work? How would I actually use RLUSD?
Let's take cross-border payments. Imagine sending money to family overseas
Okay, yeah.
instantly with almost no fees. That's what RLUSD could do.
Wow. That was amazing. Okay, but what about some of the other stuff the article talked about? Decentralized finance, tokenized real estate.
Those are a bit more complicated,
Yeah.
but they have huge potential. We should definitely dive into those.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, great.
So those are some pretty big ideas. But like we were talking about, there are already some big players in the stablecoin world.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the biggest challenges for RLUSD.
So how do they plan to compete with the big guys like Tether and USD Coin?
Well, Ripple's strategy seems to be focusing on what people are worried about,
Which is?
transparency and regulation. There's been so much talk about the need for more oversight in the crypto space.
Yeah, for sure.
Institutions and everyday users, they want something they can trust.
You want stability, right?
Exactly.
So how does RLUSD address those concerns?
Well, a big part of it is that New York Trust Company charter we mentioned earlier.
Right, right.
That means they're playing by the rules, following those strict regulatory standards.
Okay.
And they're being really open about their reserves. That's a big deal for a lot of people.
It definitely makes them seem more trustworthy.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, look, We're not like those other guys.
Smart move. But okay, let's say I'm convinced about the whole transparency thing.
Okay.
What else does RLUSD have going for it?
This is where that XRP ledger really comes in.
Right, their secret weapon.
Pretty much. We talked about how fast and efficient it is. Yeah, super fast transactions, low fees, all that.
That's going to be crucial if they want to be used for everyday transactions.
Makes sense. But convincing people to switch from what they already know and use, like Tether, isn't going to be easy.
It's definitely an uphill battle.
So how do they plan to get people on board? What's the strategy?
Well, Ripple's been working with banks and financial institutions for years.
Oh, right. They've already got those connections.
Exactly. They can use those partnerships to introduce RLUSD.
Okay, so it's not just about appealing to individual investors.
Right. They're thinking bigger. They want to be part of the system.
That's a really interesting approach. But even with the best plan, there are always risks. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
What are some things that could trip up RLUSD?
Well, the crypto world is constantly changing.
Always something new popping up.
Exactly. New competitors, new regulations.
Yeah.
It's hard to predict what's going to happen.
So RLUSD will have to be flexible, adapt to all the changes. Yeah, they can't just rest on their laurels. They need to stay ahead of the game.
All right, so let's play a little game of what if.
Okay? Kind of like.
Let's start with the best case scenario. What happens if everything goes right for RLUSD?
In the best case scenario, RLUSD becomes the go-to stablecoin for everyone.
Wow, really?
Yeah, why not? Businesses, individuals, everyone using it for cross-border payments.
That would be huge. Instant, cheap transactions all over the world.
And it's not just payments. Think about decentralized finance, DeFi.
Okay, yeah,
As DeFi grows, they're going to need a stable digital dollar.
makes sense.
RUSD could be perfect for that. Lending, borrowing, all kinds of applications.
So RLUSD could be a key player in this whole DeFi world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's the tokenization of real-world assets.
Right.
Imagine using RLUSD to buy fractional ownership of real estate.
Yeah, or art or anything else, really.
Exactly. It could open up all kinds of possibilities for investment.
Okay, so that's the dream scenario. But what about the flip side? What if things don't go so well?
Well, there's always a chance they won't get the adoption they need
Yeah.
if people stick with Tether and USD coin.
RLUSD could just fade away.
It's possible. It's a tough market to break into.
So it's a risky bet.
There's definitely risk,
Yeah.
but even if they don't become number one, they could still have an impact.
How so?
Their focus on transparency and regulation could force other stablecoins to raise their game.
Oh, so they could push the whole industry in a better direction.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, it's all down to the users. What do they want?
Right. So why should the average person care about RLUSD? What's in it for them?
Right.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How does this actually affect people?
Right. It's got to have real-world impact.
Exactly.
Well, think about people who send money overseas,
Okay, yeah.
to support their families back home. Those traditional remittance services can take a big chunk of their earnings.
Yeah, those fees can be brutal.
And they're slow. RLUSD could change that. Imagine sending money instantly with hardly any fees.
Wow, that would be a game changer for a lot of people.
Exactly. It's about giving people more control over their money.
And what about small businesses? Could they benefit from this too?
Absolutely. Especially businesses that work internationally.
Right.
Cross-border payments can be a real headache for them. High fees, exchange rates all over the place, delays that mess up their cash flow.
Yeah, it can be a nightmare.
RUSD could really simplify things for them.
So it's not just about the big corporations, it's about helping everyone.
Exactly. Leveling the playing field a little bit.
That's a great point. But let's be honest, not everyone is comfortable with this whole digital currency thing.
Yeah, there's still a lot of skepticism out there.
People hear crypto and they think it's risky, unstable.
Right. But that's where education comes in. We need to explain how stablecoins work, why they're different.
Show people that they're actually designed for stability.
Exactly. They're backed by real assets. They're regulated. It's not just some Wild West out there.
Yeah, we need to build that trust. So, what do you think? Could stablecoins become just a normal part of life?
I think it's definitely possible.
Like using a credit card or online banking?
Right. Imagine paying for your coffee, sending money to a friend overseas, even buying a piece of property, all with a stable digital currency.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
It's a big shift. We're just at the beginning.
So as we wrap up, what's the big takeaway for our listeners? What should they be thinking about?
Stay curious. Keep learning. This world is changing fast.
Don't be afraid of new technology.
Exactly. Take the time to understand it. Figure out how it can work for you.
And don't forget, there are risks too.
Always weigh those risks.
Yeah.
But the potential is huge.
Absolutely. Well, that's been a fascinating deep dive into the world of RLUSD. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, keep exploring, keep asking questions. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the world of finance and technology. Until then, stay curious